You're listening to the Breezy Moms podcast on Digital Stream Radio.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the Breezy Moms podcast, a weekly show that chronicles the adventures of motherhood. I'm Candace. Now let's start the show. Hey guys.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Candace?
I'm so good. I'm feeling good. I'm cold, but I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good too. It's Thursday. The Breezy Moms podcast is going to be hot, and we're going to be having a good time tonight.
Well, that's what we aim to please.
Yeah,
every week I aim to please.
I sort of kind of, I'm not a mother, so I can't really please and provide all that amazing, insightful stuff that you give them week after week. So
thank you.
I can only sit here and sort of kind of do secondhand or backhanded jokes on some of the stuff that I hear.
But that's good. Everybody loves you. Everybody loves you. So thank you for being here. And thank you everyone for tuning in this week. We are here every week at 7:30-ish.
Big time-ish.
Big time-ish tonight. But it's all about being breezy, right? And I am learning that I get more and more breezy as the weeks go on, as the days go by. And something actually I was talking about with James was that when I do a little bit of preparation, which he's been trying to tell me for 20 years, that the more I prepare, the more breezy I can be. I'm just that's not exactly what I think breezy is, but maybe you have a point that I don't want to agree to. But it's just, anyway, so we are here every week on digitalstreamradio.com. You can listen to us live on Thursdays.
That's right.
Or you can find us anywhere where you find podcasts.
On any of the services. She's even on Spotify.
I am.
We're not even on Spotify.
I'm just saying, get it together.
Yeah, no, we can't be on Spotify because some of the music that we play, it's a little iffy.
It's iffy.
We have permission from the artist to use these songs because most of the songs that we feature on our show are songs that we've had the artists themselves on the show, and so we're able to get the release to use it, but Spotify doesn't know that. So in order for you to submit a podcast to them, you've got to send them documentation and papers up the wazoo just to be able to just be on their network.
It's all right. There are other
whatever. iTunes lets me do it for free, and they're bigger than you anyway. So
anywhere where you get your podcasts, we're there. So I'm really excited about tonight. Before I forget to preview what's coming later. So we have a guest on the show tonight. Her name is Chantal, and she's going to talk to us about her childbirth experience. And I brought her on the show because there have been a few articles that are not new, but are floating around again right now. They're from earlier this year, and they're floating around again talking about the high pregnancy mortality rate for women of color, but specifically Black women. And I realized that I've had several conversations over the last couple months with friends who are moms who had pretty difficult birth stories, and which is a nice way to say, but they had pretty difficult and sometimes scary birth stories, and typically things that are related to childbirth or lady parts or women issues, they're all taboo and it's all secretive stuff, and you don't find out until you're in a scary situation. And so that's part of what the show is about anyway, is about bringing light to things that people usually don't talk about, or that people only talk about in the dark, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So
that these things become less taboo, and when you're faced in a situation, you have some information. So I hope that's what you get from this show week after week, because that's what I'm giving out, and what I'm hoping that you're receiving from me. And I'm so excited for Chantal to come on later to have this really private or sensitive conversation. Yeah. It's a sensitive topic, and experiences can typically be private or sensitive, and to come and share it so that it can help other people, I think is huge. So stick around later for that.
That's right. So Candace, I have a question for you.
I'm listening.
How are your boys?
The boys are good. Yeah, they're good. I say they're good every week because they are good every week, although they have some challenges come up every day usually. And I think the thing that I've been thinking about, or I hear myself saying the most with Lincoln over the last couple of weeks, is he, and probably like me, probably gets it from me, we tend to soak up the people that we're around, right? I'm a bit of an empath, and I think that sort of extends to, I take on the demeanor of other people sometimes if I'm around them for too long. And I've learned that about myself now, so that I try to make sure that I'm not doing it. I don't think I'd go as far as to put on a British accent if I was next to a British person, but it's like that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
I at least try, though. It's fun.
Well, that's fun, but I'm just saying, it's just an example of how if you're...
But I'm horrible at it.
But just that if I'm near someone, if I'm with someone who speaks really fast, right, then all of a sudden I start speaking fast. Or if I'm with someone who speaks slowly, then I start speaking slowly. And so I just have this way of sort of siphoning. Like it's not even what I mean to mean. But anyway, so it's something that I recognize in myself, and I also recognize in Lincoln a little bit.
She's going to siphon your soul. She's going to stick that tube down your throat and be like, you're mine now.
That is not where I was going with that. It's an extension of empathy, okay? That's all I'm trying to say.
I know.
So anyway, I recognize this in Lincoln because he typically only does it with kids who have really strong personalities. And so he'll start speaking in a way or like behaving in a way that as soon as he does it, I know exactly which kid he's being. And so I have to say things like, hey, that's not Lincoln, right? Like that's not what Lincoln sounds like. That's not how Lincoln behaves. That's not how Dormans behave. Like reel it in, like pull it back a little bit. And so I've been having this conversation with him and trying not to like come down super hard. I think I come down hard every other time or like every couple times just as a reminder. But hey, I need you to be you, especially when these behaviors that you're picking up are challenging, right? And are negative. I need you to not be that person because that's not who you are. And every time I say something to him, like that's not who we are, or that's not who Dormans are, or that's not Lincoln, like I'm trying to make sure that when it comes out, when I hear it out loud, it doesn't sound like I'm tearing him down, because I don't mean to tear him down, but I do want him to get that I'm serious. Stop doing that thing. Because one, I don't like it, and two, it's not good.
And three, I'm your mother.
And I'm your mother, and
you're supposed to listen to me.
Like that's why I did this thing. Like that's why I became a parent, so that I could say, do it because I said so.
So before we get into the other boys, right? And this one is not one of your boys, but nonetheless, she's one of your important, one of your important girls in your life. How's mom? Because I know that mom was going through it.
She's good. She is still scooting around. She's getting stronger.
Is she still at your house?
No. She was. My mom is a crazy, like, old black lady. She went back to work, I don't know, like 7 days after she broke her ankle.
Lord have mercy.
And we were like, dude, if there's any time to take some time, like it's now. But no, she got herself a little scooter, one of those things you kneel on and like scoot along with the like push off with the other leg.
Oh, God, I love those.
And she was back at work. I think it was like a week and a half after she broke her ankle, but that was, I don't know, maybe 5 weeks ago. So she's got one of those boots that you take on and off. So it's healing. She's getting better. But she's probably pushing a little harder than I wish she would. Right, because you're older and you just don't snap back. It's a generational
thing, though. They just don't stop.
They don't stop at all.
They don't stop. My mother, it's like she goes to clean house, and then 30 minutes into it, she's complaining her hip is hurting. Right. I'm like, why are you still moving?
Right,
and she goes like, because this ain't done.
Right, or like carrying heavy stuff. Yeah. I was looking at my mom's book bag. The thing, like her purse is a book bag, and there's just so much crap in it that she really doesn't need, like things I see her shoving in. I'm just like, Mom, you don't need to be lugging that stuff around. First, you're on a scooter, but second, even if you weren't on a scooter, like take some of that stuff out of your bag. But anyway, she's doing well, and she's getting stronger, and I'm trying to appreciate her tenacity in like not letting it keep her back. I think for lots of people, you don't have the option to stay home. You don't go to work. You don't get paid, like that kind of thing. And so she's just sort of pushing through it. And I'm just trying to be a voice in the back of her head, reminding her not to push so hard, because like you could get back to work now and then be out of work forever, or you could be out of work for a little while and then get back to work for the rest of the time. You know what I mean? So, but she's okay. We'll see her in a couple weekends for Christmas.
Nice.
It'll be good.
Okay.
Yeah. And we just saw my in-laws, the other grandparents, last weekend. So the boys were really happy. And I don't know if you don't have in-laws, but for listeners out there, how like things are with your in-laws, but often when we go to them, we come back with lots of new toys, but they're always toys that require batteries, which mean like growling, screeching, noise, static, like all
toys
kinds,
that you
like,
purposely want to keep those batteries out of. Yeah.
Toys that I want to leave at their house, like that I try to leave at their house, and somehow it still ends up coming back to my house. So, but I'm super grateful, and the boys love them, and they keep telling me that it's part of being a grandparent to do all the things that the parent doesn't.
You'll get there one day.
I'll get there one day, and but I love them, and they're like the best in-laws ever. So
hey, at least
this is my only problem.
Or a piano.
But they did last year. They gave him a keyboard. It's small. It's like silicone, so it can roll up, which is nice. But the kids press a button and it sings some crazy song, and then they walk away from it and go make noise somewhere else. I'm just like, why am I singing the song? Like, why is this happening to me? But yeah, so they're like the best in-laws as in-laws come. So
that's awesome.
No complaints. And then the boys are good. So I was talking about Lincoln, and so we're working through this sort of like figuring out who Lincoln is and getting him to remember that. And then Emery is going through some serious separation anxiety. He's a little over 2. He turned 2 in July, and it's got to be developmental because the other 2-year-old that I take care of is also going through the same thing, and they're about 6 weeks apart. So he is just inconsolable in the morning when James is leaving for work. Just like as if they're leaving him in the house by himself, right? Like I make fun, I joke about it, and I'm like, oh, it's great. I'm a little jealous inside. It makes me feel a little bit bad, but I know it's developmental and it's not about me. So I'm trying to keep it all together, trying to keep it all together for the baby. But he's definitely going through some serious separation anxiety. And so we have to be singing the Daniel the Tiger, like Grown Ups Come Back song. I have to play it for him a bunch of times. He's always asking him for the day during the day. And so I'm like, hey, daddy comes back when it gets dark outside. And so like it's a physical thing that he can see and he can understand. I probably need to put an Alexa alarm on that says daddy's coming home like around the time when we think he's coming.
Yeah, because at this point it's getting dark a lot sooner than the time he comes home because of the time change.
Right. But it's been working because now he sort of understands it's dark outside, it's not dark outside. But so that's and we're trying to figure out some different strategies to make the morning go a little bit better because every morning, like this morning, it was dramatic, just drama.
How about leave the house before he wakes up?
It's not a good strategy because once kids get old enough, like separation anxiety comes with them recognizing that you're leaving, right? That you're not here. Object permanence kind of thing, that you're still like, you still exist even though you're not here. And I'm upset that we're not together. And so if you leave without telling them, so he goes to look for him. He goes to look for him in the bathroom. He goes to look for him somewhere. And then he realizes that he's gone. It's far worse than if he just cried a little bit while he was saying goodbye. And I think it's hard to understand, particularly because you're not there, right? Like if you left, you don't know exactly how hard it was after they realized that you were gone, but it's pretty hard. So does he understand that dad's going to work? Yeah. So he says daddy's at work.
And dad has his little briefcase?
He doesn't have a briefcase, but he knows that they go and the thing is that James takes Lincoln to school, so it's both of them leaving. And so he understands that he's leaving and he understands that he's coming back. He just doesn't like it.
No, because what I was thinking is maybe you can get him like a mock briefcase or something and set up like a little desk and say, well, daddy's going to work and you have to work over here. And then when you're both done with work, you can meet up, right? And that's when it gets dark. And sort of kind of because maybe he wants to go to work too.
Yeah, I could try that.
I mean, he's 2. He doesn't know how to tell you, hey, I want to do what daddy does.
Well, he wants to leave with them. Yeah. Because one day, James had the day off and he left to take Lincoln to school, but he told him he was going to come back and take him with him to the gym. And so he understood, I'm leaving for a couple minutes and then coming back. And that he was cool with that because when James came back, he picked him up, he put on his book bag, and the smile on this kid's face, he was so happy to wave goodbye to me, right? Like, I'm leaving, bye. So excited. So he really understood that he was getting to go, and that's what he wants to do. It doesn't matter where they're going. He just wants to leave with them. And it's one of the things I'm trying to get James to try is in the morning, James typically gets Emery ready and then brings him downstairs, and then he goes back upstairs to get dressed. And it cuts out the amount of time that Emery can see him, you know? So I was like, just let him sit upstairs with you. He just wants to be in the same space with you. And then maybe it won't feel like you're leaving all of a sudden, because he doesn't really understand time. Yeah. You know, like the time, 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, he doesn't really care. So we haven't exactly tried it yet, because then he gets in the way and it's hard for him to get dressed, and he's in the shower and he's, you know, all of that stuff. But the reason I think that might help is because on some mornings when Emery wakes up late and the turnaround time is like 5 minutes between when he opens his eyes and when James is walking out the door, it is terrible. Like that transition is awful. So he really needs time. He needs time. During the week, he probably has 2, maybe 3 hours with him in the evening, max. And then in the morning, it's like half an hour, max, until weekend. And then he has the 2 days of the weekend that he sees him all the time. And it's just not enough for him right now. So I don't know if other people have toddlers and are going through that right now, if you have any tips, things that are helping. But it's the parent who's leaving is the one that they want. And they don't care anything about the one who's here with you all day.
Oh, she's feeling some kind of way.
Things for you. Listening to
she's
you,
feeling all kind of heavy,
around behind you, changing your diaper 16 times, feeding you every time you ask for something. Like, they don't care about that parent.
You're really feeling it. You're really going through it. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Okay, I'm over it. I know it's a phase, and it's good. The other thing that I will just say for a second, if I'm being like honest with myself and just like recognizing where I am in life, it is a very interesting, cool, emotional thing for me that he is so stressed out over his dad, and he's like, daddy, daddy, daddy all day. Like, my parents split up when I was little. I don't remember ever saying dad. Like, it's just not a part of anything that I said, right? I think I called my father by his name when I met him again when I was 15, right? So like, it's just a very strange thing for me to not be the center of my kids' universe right now, and a little jealous. Like, I'm a little jealous that they have this whole experience with dad and daddy and like all of that stuff that I never.
Well, he's the one that goes away, right? So if the roles were reversed and James was home taking care of the kids and you were going away, I know you'd probably be going through that same thing too.
No, I know.
So
it's a very strange place to be, to like love and be jealous of your kid at the same time, right? And it's an odd thing that I think people recognize more when it's like a mom and a daughter and they're close in age, you know, like a young mom kind of thing. You're like, oh, you're trying to live your life through, or you're jealous of your daughter because she's blah, blah, blah. Like, people understand that stuff. But this is not that, right? Because it's not me and a daughter who's 19 or something. I'm trying to keep up with her. This is that whole like father figure thing that is kind of cliche, although it's not. It's real. Like, I didn't grow up with my dad, so I don't have those experiences. And every time I see them, I think that is so cool, right? And I'm so happy for them and a little jealous at the same time. So it's a whole string of emotions that I have in the like 3 seconds that he rejects me and he throws himself on the ground. And then James is like, okay, grown-ups, come back. I'll see you later. And like, we're all in a puddle, just like trying to figure it out. But everybody's good. And James is good. Although James, I told you earlier, I brought cookies. James is all skinny and fly now, and he's bringing me snacks. I'm just like, listen.
Not that I would know, because I don't get to see him anymore.
I know. It's terrible. I do. He looks good. But he needs to stop bringing me cookies and looking good.
Yeah, the cookies are good, by the way.
It doesn't seem fair.
Give them to her. She can drop them off here. This fat boy loves them.
It's the triple ginger snaps from Trader Joe's. Oh. They're amazing.
Oh, God. Now I got to go to Trader Joe's.
I know. Don't do it. Don't do it. If you're listening, do not try these cookies, because you will never stop. You just don't. I take it back. They're terrible. As a public service announcement. They're terrible. Wink, wink.
Wink.
Okay, so let's move on because I want to get Chantal on. Hey, Chantal,
Hi.
welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
We're wonderful. Hopefully we didn't make you go through that first segment. That always gets a little crazy for us.
No, it's fine. I enjoyed it.
So before we get started, I just want to let everybody know that Chantal is a smart, stylish wife and mother of 2. She's a close friend of my best friend, Kima. I almost called her Dr. Kima because that's how we refer to her in my house. Who was on the show probably really early on, probably in the first month or 2 that we were on. And though we haven't been Chantal and I aren't super close, I have gotten to know her through the magic of Facebook over the last few years. And our kids are the same age, and so we sort of are rolling in the same mom circle on Facebook. And I'm so excited that you're here. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yay. Thank you. Well, thanks for having me on.
So let me ask, where are you joining from?
So I live in Eastchester, New York, which
nice.
is a suburb of New York City.
I had no idea. Why did I think you lived in Massachusetts?
I don't know.
Did you used to live in?
Because I went to Boston College, and that's how I know Kima.
Okay.
Through ex-boyfriends that were part of a fraternity, but we don't need to talk about that.
No, we don't have to talk about them. So you live in Eastchester. Eastchester is a part of Westchester, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, Lower Westchester.
Yeah,
cool.
I lived in Westchester for a long time.
Yeah, my whole family's in Westchester now.
I lived in Yonkers.
Yonkers.
And we were in White Plains.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so will you tell us a little bit? So you guys live in Westchester, in Eastchester. Tell us a little bit about you and your family, who's in your family, and how long you've been married, and a little bit about your two. I almost said your 2 little boys. About your little kids.
Yes.
Your boy and your girl.
So I'm a working mom. I'm an educator, and I married another educator. My husband's a principal in Brooklyn, and we've been married for 5 years, together for about 9. We have 2 kids. We have a 4-year-old boy named Caden and an 18-month-old sassy little girl named Liliana.
I love it.
Yes.
And the other thing I wanted to know, what do you guys do for fun as a family? I'm taking notes.
We love to go to the Bronx Zoo. We are members. We go often. We also go to the New York Botanical Gardens. We're also members there. And I'm actually, for the first time, going to start Caden in the winter gardening camp. So it starts in January. So we're really excited for that. Something to do on a Saturday afternoon.
Nice.
Just the 2 of us, or, with just one parent, whether we switch off. We haven't decided yet. But it's just something for him to do without his little sister.
Nice. And that's at the Botanical Gardens?
Yes. Yes.
Cool.
They have a lot of great programming for kids.
That's great. It sounds like what we have here. Well, what I've been to is called Tinker Garden. Have you heard of Tinker Garden? Kind of like an outdoorsy.
I've seen it on your Facebook.
But any kind of organized thing to get kids out into nature, outdoors, I think is great. Because I think sometimes I just push them outside. I'm like, ooh, nature. But without some guidance, we're all just kicking rocks.
Playing in dirt, right?
Yes. Okay, so I want to jump into what we're talking about tonight because it's pretty heavy stuff. So research shows it's not new or news, but Black women have 3 to 4 times higher mortality rate in pregnancy or child related situations. That I'm sure there's some better medical term for that. And overall, typically get minimal or are maltreated or terrible care when they go into a hospital or they have any sort of interactions with doctors. I've seen things about women saying that they have to dress in their, they dress super corporate professional so that they can be taken seriously when they go to the hospital. It's like you're in pain and you need help, but you have to be thinking about the optics so that you can get the kind of care that you need. And then I've also seen some women doctors who are speaking out against the fact that they see fellow physicians or fellow doctors really, if not maltreating patients, they're like ignoring them, which I guess is maltreatment. So people are talking about it more now. Also, Beyonce and Serena Williams just wrote like essays or whatever information came out about how their childbirth experiences were pretty tough and difficult, and Serena Williams almost died. Like if Serena Williams can't get proper care, right? Like how can
we're all screwed?
How can regular people get anything? You know,
it's crazy. It's crazy. It really is.
It's crazy and it's scary. So we were talking before, and I heard you talk a little bit about your first. I don't know if it's the whole pregnancy, but your first childbirth experience with Caden having been like difficult, scary, and traumatic. So I wanted to have you come on and talk a little bit about it. Again, we're shedding light on things that are taboo and things that people really don't talk about, so that it helps other people either as they're going in, right? They're having their first baby, or if they're looking for help, to know that they're not alone. So tell me a little bit about your birth story with Caden.
Yes. So, of course, we were very excited to have Caden, like when we heard we were pregnant with Caden, and just to like kind of give some background. So my husband is white, and
wait, something just happened to your sound. Oh, okay. All right. So I heard your husband is white.
Okay, you're back.
Yeah, good. Okay, good.
Okay, I think I was moving too much and something happened. But where like as Black females, where we had that thing where, is it us? Like, is it in my mind? This treatment, is this real?
Right.
But I've definitely noticed like a difference when he went to appointments with me from when he didn't go to appointments with me.
Interesting.
And just like little subtle things of like that, But so like what I started doing, like, so for example, like just how I was greeted, right? I felt like they checked up on me more if I was waiting, if he was with me in the room. Like, okay, like the doctor will be with you in 5 minutes, like da-da-da. Meanwhile, like when I was by myself, like I would be like sitting in the room by myself for 20 minutes and be like peeking out and like, hello. And they're like, oh, sorry. But like when my husband was there, like they can't come more often, like just little, like the littlest thing.
Yeah.
And they loved seeing us together. Like it was weird. It was just weird. And so I was lucky that my doctor at the time, he had Saturday appointments. So my husband was able to come with me on Saturday appointments because, he was at that time, he was assistant principal. So leaving work during the week wasn't really gonna fly. And so after that, I just had him come to like every appointment, and, it was fine. But then fast forward to labor and delivery, my water broke in the middle of the night. And like, I know that when you go to the delivery room, they ask you a lot of questions because they want to make sure you were in labor. But when I was asking my other friend who had given birth like a little bit after me, if she had like the same barrage of questions, and she's like, no, they just told me to wait. But it was like, are you sure your water broke? Like, was it like, they made me like basically like tell them like 5 times, like, this is what happened, describe what happened. Meanwhile, my mom's like, why were they doing that? Because if they check you for a rupture, that's all they have to do.
Right.
It takes 2 seconds. And regardless if your water broke or not, they would still have to check you, and they still have to make sure you're okay before they send you home. Like they still have to do a few tests. So there was no reason to be interrogated. But I think it's to that night, everyone was giving birth for some reason. Like there was a lot of people in triage.
Yeah.
So I don't know what was going on. So they obviously found out that I was telling the truth, and then they induced me at around 8 a.m. I want to say we got to the hospital around like 2:33. And I finally got induced at 8 and got my room. And it's progressing fine. But then all of a sudden, like, I remember it, like, and this is me, I wanted that natural birth. I was like, I want to see how long I can go without any, but they insisted that I needed to get induced because my water had broke. Which my mom's like, if they had believed you before that your water broke.
Right.
But can I ask, isn't the water breaking part of that birthing process, right? Your water breaks, you start getting contractions, and then you start sort of kind of waiting until you're dilated enough to be able to push the baby out. So
absolutely. And it was just weird because like I was feeling the natural progression, right? And I was like, are you sure? They're like, well, your contractions are still too far apart, but they were painful enough. I'm like, Candace, like, how contractions feel. Like, I was like, can we just like let this, thing happen naturally? So they induced me because they said that at that point, that I had lost too much fluid, right? So I was like, okay. But then I guess they were checking that I was dilating, and like, I don't know what happened, but my mom said she could have swore that they turned up my Pitocin level.
Higher?
Yes.
And Pitocin is no joke.
No, it's not.
No, and it's this whole thing where I feel like Black women don't feel pain because because I wasn't screaming and shouting, and I was breathing through my contractions. They're like, "Are you sure?"
You were told, like you were taught to do.
Thank you,
birth classes.
Thank you. Was with my husband and I attended, and he was breathing with me, like you know, first birth experience. Where he's doing the whatever, and I guess because I was handling the pain, they're like, and they asked me, "Are you sure? Like you're I'm like, yeah, they hurt.
Yeah, and they should be able to see it on the monitor, like,
duh, right? My mom was like, "Are you serious?" So when that happened, of course, like it was so painful. Yeah. My blood pressure dropped, and like I guess like something with the baby, like I guess it just like squeezed the baby.
Yep.
So they're like, you know,
now you're in distress.
Like, oh my God. Yes, I'm in distress. So of course they hook up like the oxygen to me and all of that. I'm crying. Eric's crying. He doesn't know what's going on. We're like, and my mom's like, calm down. It's okay. And my mom is a nurse, so she started helping, you know, the nurse. And this was when like I should go back, but this is when like I had like a really nice Filipina nurse that was also a midwife. And she had gone on break. So it was this other like mess.
No.
So when
you're like, where's the lady? Bring her back.
Yes, exactly. So when she came back, her and my mom were like calming me down and so forth. And, you know, fine. So finally my nice Filipino nurse came back and was like, it's okay. We're going to keep the oxygen on, but you're okay now. The baby's okay. And they monitored it. But my labor had started to progress. So as a first time mom, I had my baby in 4 hours, which is like unheard of. Right? Unheard of. And so as it's getting closer, Kaden's crowning. She can't believe it. Right? My Filipino nurse goes gets the doctor and says, I think you should check her. She says no. She's like, well, I think she's like, just give her time. She's a first time mom. It's going to happen. Right. Like I'm feeling, and I'm telling her like,
so many times
coming out. Like, I feel it. And I ended up getting epidural at some point in between. And I'm like, I still felt the pain. Like, it was such a waste. And I was like, he is coming out. So she checks me when she was not supposed to because
the nurse,
I guess she's a nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's also a midwife. So she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
She calls the doctor and she's like, you have to come down here. And then sure enough, I was fully dilated. They're like, push, like it's time to let go. And then the nurse was like, I think we should stretch her. Because she's going to tear. She's a first time mom. And no, I think she'll be fine.
That's what the doctor said?
Yes. And then, long story short, I pushed. It was so painful. I felt all the tearing. I had basically almost 3rd-degree tears, which is the worst tears you can have. And my mom said, I kind of knew it was pretty bad by like the blood, but my mom, was like,
keep it together. Yeah.
And she was the OB. So she used to work in OB like a few years back. So she got me through it. But I literally pushed out Kaden like that, like maybe 20 minutes. But it was traumatic, quick but traumatic.
Right.
Now, can I ask?
Which reinforces their idea that one, you don't feel pain, and you'll just do it. You'll just like
and like where I probably didn't need the intervention because the intervention sped up the process so much. I needed 10 times more intense that like it was awful. This is awful.
Oh my God.
Can I ask you a question? So you mentioned in a short time frame, they gave you Pitocin to induce your labor.
Yeah, 8 a.m.
And then when did they give you the epidural?
The epidural came after I had because it was just started getting more and more painful, and I was like, can I when can I? I was going back and forth. I was like, I'm supposed to have this natural. My mom's like, look, they already gave you intervention. That Pitocin is going to be painful. So she's like, if you want the epidural, like, just get it. At least you can relax a little bit because you didn't sleep last night because I was going through labor. Like, I woke up at 1 a.m. That's when I thought my water broke. We went to she's like, you've been up all night. So at least maybe you can relax. So I did get I want to say I got the epidural by like 9:15. And, yeah, it's awful. You have to hold like a pillow and be very still while you're having contractions. And by 9, I was timing it. My contractions were already 3 minutes apart.
My God.
And lasting at least 60 seconds.
No, I ask because the issue that I have with sometimes when they do this, because I've been in a delivery room where they did this to my sister-in-law. They gave her Pitocin, and 3 hours later they started giving her an epidural because the pains were so bad. That they gave her the epidural to sort of kind of calm her down, but now she couldn't feel her contractions, and so she didn't know when to push.
I mean, that sounds like a lot of Pitocin. You can still the epidural like cuts off something in your brain, but you can still feel something.
The pressure,
you still feel a pressure. It doesn't hurt, but you feel a pressure because when it stops, you feel it go. And then the other thing I just wanted to loop back for a second, not everyone's water breaks. In the progression, like the childbirth progression, there's sort of this thing in movies where it's like, I feel the pain, then all this water gushes out, and then they run and they have the baby in like 5 minutes. My water didn't break for neither of my 2 kids, and I fully like progressed in a very short period of time. So it's hit or miss with whether your water breaks or not. But as a woman, as the person who's feeling all the pain and knows what's feels all the things that's going on, I just wish they would listen a little bit better.
Yeah. And just like your general like intuition, like, so yeah, my water broke with Kaden, but not with my daughter at all. Like my water broke like a minute before she actually came, you know, like because she was coming. But yeah. And so I had it like, I was induced at 8. I had probably the epidural by 9. I remember that because my mom couldn't come in the room yet because once I'd been admitted, she left work and came. And then it was after that, I guess they did the Pitocin, like they increased it. And I still felt like something
crazy.
And then that's when the blood pressure and everything happened.
Yeah.
And
it's so interesting to me to hear that they did the Pitocin first and then the epidural. Like it just sounds backwards for them to do that, especially knowing that Pitocin makes things so much worse. I don't know who Pitocin helps because everybody I've ever heard who's had it, like it made me vomit uncontrollably and then put the baby in distress like immediately. I don't know why they insist on still using it if like nobody's experience is ever good.
I don't get it, especially since like I feel like my body was following it to a T as described in the birthing class, like timing wise and everything. So I don't think it needed the intervention, but then it just kept getting worse. So after he came out, I had those crazy tears. I didn't really get to hold him because then I had to be like stitched back up. And then this was like what like in hindsight, what almost pissed me off, like which is so good. I had my mom there as my advocate. They weren't going to numb me. And my mom's like, and she's like, oh, she's like, and like she was getting ready. My mom's like, aren't you gonna like give her something to numb the pain? And she's like, no, I think she goes, she just said she felt the pain of the birth.
Yeah.
The epidural is not good. She needs something. And sure enough, I felt them inject me with, I forgot what the drug is called, to like kind of numb. And it feels like a prick and a burn. And Candace and Tom, it took them an hour to stitch me back up.
Oh my God.
And imagine if they had not given you the medication.
And
that's basically the local anesthetic that they're doing. It's almost like Novocaine.
Exactly. That's what it is. Yeah. Like kind of like that they did it all inside like my uterus.
Oh my God.
And there was so much blood that when they did the count of the gauze, they couldn't find one. They had to literally dig in and I felt the pressure of them digging to find the missing like gauze.
Yeah.
Like they kept
did they find it?
They did find it. They weren't going to like fully close me up until they did. And my mom was there watching them like, aha. Meanwhile, Kaden and Eric are bonding, but I didn't get the chance to bond. So then...
See, it's real. It's real. Okay. Listen.
Oh my God.
Listen, all this work I just put in, I'm supposed to be first. I'm just saying. It's real life.
I just don't get it.
Thank you. Like they ended up giving me skin to skin, but by then, like I felt like it was too late. Like I'm so mad about that. And of course, he didn't latch because I didn't get the skin to skin right away, and we had latching issues. But it was also because he was 3 weeks early. But I still blame it on the fact that I didn't get to hold him.
Oh my God! If they're not, if
it's what you feel, it's what's real.
If the fathers
okay?
are not there, they're deadbeats, and if they are there, my God, I'm jealous. He got to my baby.
First of all, it's not that clear. Okay, it's not. It is not that clear. Nothing. Really nothing about childbirth and that whole situation, even the whole pregnancy. Nothing is clear. Nothing makes sense. Nothing is black and white. Okay, I feel what I feel, and it's real.
But they should have. They should have given it to you first, though.
Yes, but
you carried it for 9 months.
10 months.
10.
It's because I was like laid
40 weeks is 10 months. Okay,
yeah, but she had it 3 weeks early.
Fine, whatever.
Yeah, I had him at 37, so I did cheat out 3 weeks. But yeah, and of course, like, so that was awful. So I could barely walk. All those stitches, and then it just gets worse. So, I'm complaining that I'm like, they're obviously, this is like a breastfeeding friendly hospital. So they're pushing nursing, and I'm trying to nurse. I'm not nursing. I'm trying to express. My boobs are rock hard. Like I'm doing all like the compresses. They couldn't get me like a hospital pump for a while. And like, so he's not really eating a lot. Right. But no one's saying like, okay, should we supplement with him with the syringe and formula? Nothing. No one's coming in to check because I don't know if they were understaffed. I don't know what was going on. Yeah. It was a mess. So then my mom comes back and she was like looking, she's like, how much did he eat? And so my mom's helping me or whatever. Then finally she's like, where's the lactation consultant? I didn't get it. So like he was born at noon on the Friday or Thursday. I didn't see the lactation consultant until like 4 p.m. the Friday.
Good for you, because I didn't see them until an hour before I left the hospital the third day. Right? Like you just, I'm like, is anybody coming to help me? Like, what is going on here?
Exactly. So meanwhile, my child's starving. So finally she helps me express more. She gets me a nipple shield to get him on. She helps all this stuff.
And then the pain of nursing. So the pain of nursing, and I can only imagine that it would be that like when, Tom, you don't know this, but when you're nursing, it causes your uterus to contract. Not only on day 1, 2, 3, but like forever. It just is easier to bear later on when you're fully healed. But if your uterus has just been stitched like for an hour, your like body has just been stitched up internally, and then you're struggling to nurse, then when you do nurse, the contractions that are coming from nursing must have been unbearable.
It was awful.
And the stress of all of this like backed up stress of not being able to do it when it feels like you should be able to do it.
Exactly. And absolutely not that you get sleep like when you first have a baby, but like even like when he was like, I was trying to like the hot towels, just constantly trying to get, milk out. So the next day, the pediatrician comes and weighs him. And obviously he lost some weight. But like, we were getting him feeding, we're going. And then she comes back and says, oh, so we're going to discharge you, but the baby has to stay. We need to feed him. Wow. And I said, excuse me? And right? Yeah. And I just go bawling. I don't even know. I just, my husband's talking to them, whatever. I'm just crying. I'm crying. And I'm like, we need to call my mom. I call my mom and she's like, I can't get it out. Eric's trying to explain. And she's like, wait, they're keeping him so they can feed him formula? She's like, that doesn't mean anything. Why aren't they giving him okay. So she's like, I'm coming. Right. She gets there. She's checking the chart. She's going, whatever. She goes, okay, so when did they last feed the baby? I'm like, they haven't. She goes, hold up. They told you they're keeping the baby to feed him and no one has come and given him formula yet?
Oh my God.
But you were trying to breastfeed him, right?
I'm supposed to trust that you're going to feed him when I leave when you haven't tried to feed him while I've been here watching.
But you were breastfeeding, right?
No, but still, he wasn't getting anything.
He had nothing. And and this was with probably an hour between. And my mom was like, what? So, that's it. That's when Mama Bear came out. And she's like, we ain't leaving this baby in this fucking hospital.
And she's New York, please. And she's Jamaican.
Cursing. My mom's like, hell no. So she calls in everybody.
Yes.
She's like, where's this chart? There's nothing. There's no da-da-da. What's going on? She's like, we are not leaving this baby here. Go. I need a formula. I need a syringe. Da-da-da. My mom just takes over because I was just an emotional wreck and just holding my baby for dear life because I was like, I do not want to leave. So then my mom took charge. She's like, we're going to feed him every hour and a half. We're going to give him formula. You're going to put him on the breast. You're going to give him formula. And then she was just like, well, we still have to. She's like, well, we're not leaving. And so you could go whoever you want, but we're not leaving this baby here. We'll give you until, I think my mom was like, if you don't want to discharge her, then that's fine. But we're going to leave with the baby.
You didn't know who I was before I got here, but now you know, right?
So then
this
they
is not
work
going to
out
fly.
some plan. Yeah, so I could stay past being like 11 a.m. They're trying to discharge me.
Right.
And I ended up staying until maybe like 8, 9 o'clock. And they just wanted to see that his weight was coming up and that he was like, peeping and pooing and like he was fine once he was getting fed. And also too, he was a little jaundiced. So he wasn't wanting to nurse either. And he wasn't trying to stay awake to
and did they come and put him under the light? Did they come and do any of the things?
Well, he wasn't as jaundiced as that. Like Lily was a little more. She didn't need light, but like she had like a little bit of a high bilirubin count. But he was just lethargic, which makes nursing so much harder because you have to try to wake him up constantly. So because of my mom, we ended up leaving, and the minute I stepped foot in I just bawled. I just bawled. I was so happy to be out of there. And it's a miracle that I decided to have another kid because I was so trying. I was like, I think I'm good. This one kid thing is good. But then of course, like, we're talking to my husband, like we said, we wanted 2. And I literally changed doctors and researched like crazy, the doctors and affiliated hospitals on every like Facebook moms group, asking about this doctor, asking about this hospital, like trying to read Yelp reviews, everything, until I finally found my new doctor whom I love and just connected with immediately. She also has biracial children. Her husband's Haitian. And like, so we connected on that right away. And she was just amazing. And my whole experience with that medical group, and I ended up actually delivering Greenwich Hospital. It was amazing. They were so good to me. So
let's go back to that experience in the hospital. So obviously this was quite traumatic. I mean, going from immediately, just initially they quickly went in and gave you Pitocin, et cetera. And as you mentioned, that could put the baby in distress immediately. And then not only that, things are just, progressing and getting even worse. Like, for example, when you were delivering, they knew that you were going to tear. Your mom knew that you were going to tear, but they weren't trying to do anything about preventing, right? Nothing to prevent any serious injuries, rather than just let her just go through it. Do you feel that your experience in this hospital, or throughout that first birth of yours, could have been different if you were a white woman?
I do think so. And also, if my Filipina nurse was white, because she was the one that advocated for me first. And my mom said...
Like they would have listened to her if she were white?
I think so.
Yeah.
So in your experience, is there anything, in looking back at that situation now, that you think you can do to sort of kind of make that situation a little better for people who may go through the same thing that you went through?
It's just like, you just have to, and it's so hard because you're in this like weird emotional hormonal state, but you just have to like just advocate for yourself and just stick to your gut and just speak out. Like I should have, but obviously I'm in contraction, but like I should have said something. And my mom doesn't remember hearing that because she was more worried about, because I remember I was hooked up to oxygen. She was more worried, like she was monitoring the screen, basically. What my husband's holding my hand, my mom was holding my other hand, and she was just like looking at the screen, making sure my blood pressure, like she was looking at my vitals, like, like just worried about me, like living, right? So, and I like, you just have to advocate for yourself. Yeah. You just have to advocate for yourself. And I should have said, can you, I could have just said, I don't want Pitocin. Like I should have said, but then, you question yourself because these are medical professionals. Right. And you would trust that they have your best interest at heart and that you're not just a number, that they're trying to just, get you to give birth and get out. Right. Like it's just
because Pitocin pushes you along, which gets you, but an intervention leads to another intervention, leads to another one, leads to a C-section. Right. But a C-section, I've heard that, C-section is routine, right? It's major surgery, but it's also routine. They know exactly how to do it. Regular childbirth, like pushing, there are lots more variables that can happen in that situation. And so sometimes people are pushing you to get cut because they know exactly how to cut you, open you, and stitch you back up, right? And they can be in and out in however long they know that they can do that. One thing that I was talking to a friend about who just had a baby earlier this year, I remember her saying that she was telling all the people who she knew were going to be in the room, like her husband, her family, like, I know we are excited about this baby and I'm excited about this baby, but make sure you're also looking at me. Make sure you're looking at my face. Make sure you're paying attention to me in between loving on the baby to make sure that I look the way that I'm supposed to look. Cause I might not be able to say out loud that I'm hurting or I need something or like that kind of thing. But in the excitement of the baby, I might be over here like behaving in some way that's not my norm. And I need somebody to be able to notice that and recognize it if I can't.
Yes, absolutely. And like, I think I would tell other women that like, validate your pain, like tell them like, I'm in pain. Just because for you, it doesn't look like I'm in pain, or for some reason you don't perceive my pain to be real. Like tell them, give them the scale of like, 0 to 10 and just say like 10,
9 every time.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like 11.
Right?
11.
I really felt like they really didn't think I was in pain, and that I still can't believe that my mom had to tell them to numb me before they stitched me up for an hour.
And is that something that you like after thinking about this experience? Like I'm not telling you to like run out and sue people but is it something that you feel like is negligent enough that you like they should know about it, or do you feel like sometimes you one just thinks, okay, I survived, it's fine, I don't want to think about it ever again?
It was kind of that. So I did call and complain to as many people as I could. They tried to like send like a nurse because after they thought that I wasn't going to feed my baby for some reason. Even with my white husband in the room.
Oh my God. It's like you all weren't feeding my baby. I was doing everything I could to try and feed the baby.
Yeah, they tried to send me like somebody to come help me at my house if I needed it. And I cursed her like, this is not for you, but I want nothing to do with your hospital or like anyone that's affiliated with your, like I'm like,
done.
No, don't, no. I was like, she's like, well, we need it. We need to make sure. I was like, that sounds like a personal problem. No. Like, you're not coming to my house. Like, I don't want to talk to you about my baby. I don't want to. You could call his pediatrician, like that I'm seeing every other day, because like he was on weight monitoring. So
it sounds like they feel some kind of way about the experience, and they're trying to make sure.
Exactly, and because I already called and complained too, and told them like that if anything happens to me or my baby, like
I'm blaming you
guys.
We'll
come in for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So going back to that pain thing and like validating or just speaking up about pain, I think as women, one, and as Black women, two, where you have to carry so much, it feels like you have to put on a strong face. I remember my midwife the second time around saying, like, making comments like, oh my God, you're a rock star. You just like the pain was nothing. And I was like, no, bitch, this shit hurts. I'm just not throwing myself on the ground because that's not going to help me. But this hurts. But you kind of get this, like, on one hand, and again, to give them white people, doctors, some benefit of the doubt, right? I don't think that it helps, it serves the mom to have them say to you that you're not doing a great job, right? Like they need to give you some sort of positive reinforcement. It's just that sometimes it comes off when you're talking to me particularly, this like big Black woman, that you think I'm some kind of like I don't know what, like a bodybuilder or something, like you think that I'm super strong when I'm not. I'm just like trying to keep it together so that I don't fall apart.
Exactly.
So it's hard because this is where white people are like, oh, if I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, those aren't the two options. Those are the only two options. I do remember, and when I was having my second child, that when I went in, like I progressed so quickly with Emery, second child. I don't know if you had this experience, that we didn't even have time to make any of the arrangements that we had planned. Right. So Lincoln and Emery and James both came with me to the hospital to drop me off. And then James turned around to take Lincoln to where we needed to leave him. So there was a couple, like an hour or so where I was in the hospital by myself.
Oh, wow.
And I definitely remember feeling like the lady was like, oh, okay, take off your clothes and get on the bed. And I was already halfway through labor, right? And she and she stood there holding the wires that she was going to attach to my belly on the opposite side of the bed and watched me like try to get off my clothes, struggle through every single struggle to climb onto the bed. And she just watched me until I was done. And I remember thinking, bitch, you're not going to help me? Like, really? You're not going to help me? And it was and then I got angry and I was like, fuck this. Like, I can do this by myself. But I was remembering, having been at that same hospital before, how attentive the nurses were before. And so to have this woman just looking at me, and it makes me think, again, you said earlier about you don't want to think that this is what people are thinking, but I was there by myself. I was wearing no jewelry because I was like 60 pounds overweight, right? Like, so do you think I'm a young, single Black girl who doesn't have anybody and you just going to treat me any old kind of way? Like, this is the curse of looking like you're 22 for a very long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I told you, like, I thought it was like, I did notice a difference when I went with appointments with my husband when I didn't.
Yeah.
And I've heard like you think it's like in your mind, but then you're like, but there's some truth to this. I know. And it's like this, it makes you crazy because you're like, are they doing it to me because they're just awful people?
Right.
Or it's because I'm Black.
Right.
And
I know. And we have to think about this. I have a friend who was like, she went out and bought a bigger wedding band, like a bigger fake wedding band, so that she was always wearing a ring. Other people I know are like, oh, I had my ring on my necklace and I just kept playing with it over and over again to like draw attention to it. I just read about this woman, I don't know, an older woman who said when she had her baby, the nurse refused to give her an epidural, said she didn't deserve it because she was single. Like, she was a single Black girl just out here having babies. She's like, my husband's deployed. My ring doesn't fit my finger anymore. Like, you didn't even ask me any questions and you're causing me so much pain. You know what I mean? Like, these things are not...
awful. Yeah.
These experiences, while they sound jarring to people who hear them and unbelievable, they're not made up and they're not real.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. So we were talking a little bit about your mom advocating for you. Do you typically find that you speak up when needed to, and that this was a different situation for you because you were probably overwhelmed with being pregnant and hormonal, that kind of thing? Or do you look back and think you could have done more, you should have done, or like...
I wish I had. I don't know if I would have. Like, it's just because I was just in so much pain.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't myself, and I was just scared, you know, because I've never been through it before. Right. And I would hope that I would have, but I didn't. And it probably would have played out the same way. But if my mom had been there earlier, I think my experience would have been different as well. And like, you know, and like, because that experience was so scary for like the three of us, and even for Eric, like even the second time around, like they tried to convince me that like it was too early. Like, my contractions were only 5 minutes when I got to the hospital, but I'd known how quickly Caden had come. Mm-hmm. So when I'm talking to my doctor, she's like, no, you go to the hospital when they're 5 minutes apart.
Yeah.
And like, you know, we live in Eastchester, and to drive to Greenwich is about like 35, 40 minutes.
Wow.
And she's like, just go. Right. And she was like, and even if they send you home, don't go home, because like you had your baby so quick, the first one so quick.
Right.
And sure enough, they kept asking me, you know, the interrogation, and like I was just like adamant, like I was ready for like
I'm ready. I'm prepared.
You know. And then there was one point and where they did say, oh, like I had a contraction, and she was like, oh, that was a contraction? Like, are you sure? Like, that didn't seem that bad. I said, I'm in labor.
Oh my God.
I was like, contractions hurt.
Yeah.
And I said it like that. And she's like, well, I'm just saying. I was like, no, it hurts. Like, I don't like, and the nurse was like, the nurse kind of like, she was shielding, kind of like having an attitude, because I came right at the end of their shift. So I understood like why they were a little bit annoyed, because they had been working all night. And then I come in at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and they're getting off at 7 a.m.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
And I think after I like snapped at her about that, she kind of lowered, and I said, and she kept asking me questions, and she was like, and like she was a little annoyed that I hadn't been drinking water. She's like, how come you hadn't, like, you're very dehydrated? I was like, ma'am, do you know what time it is? Like, it was nighttime.
Right, I was asleep.
Regularly drink gallons of water at night. I was like, hello, I was trying to sleep. Like, and she's like, okay, like she calmed down. It's because she
feel uncomfortable because I'm uncomfortable, bitch.
Exactly, and she had to give me IV because regardless if my pregnancy wasn't far enough along, I was a little dehydrated. So she had to give me fluids. And of course, when the doctor came in and I was like, she was like, I don't know, because now it's only 4. I was like, this baby is coming. I know. When the doctor came in, I was like 4.5 centimeters dilated. Almost 5. They weren't going to send me home.
Right.
So remember, I went in at 6. I had Lily by like 9, 3 hours.
God.
3 hours and 3 pushes.
Yes. That second baby is real. Like, don't sleep on that second baby. It's real. I can't even imagine traveling half an hour to get to the hospital. I was in so much pain going 3 miles from our house to Yale. I didn't know how I was going to make it. So when people are going, even having to travel a distance to get to their preferred hospital and then being sent away to only turn around and come back. Like I've heard moms have had, this woman I know had her baby in the gas station, right? She didn't even make it.
Oh my God. No.
her second baby. Like my mom tells this story about my sister who's the second baby. People were ignoring her at the counter. She was in California and she just started walking down the hall towards the elevator, towards upstairs. And she had my sister in the elevator. Like, there's so many stories of us not being listened to in childbirth, and this extends to other medical situations, but like it doesn't seem to be getting better because my mom is my sister's 31 this year, and you are having this problem right now in 2017. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem to be getting better, but I think that the more we talk about it, for you yourself, having been through that experience the first time, knowing how to make it better the second time around, because your experience with Lily was better.
It was,
really it matters. And so I really just want to thank you again for coming on the show, because this sort of information, again, is for people who are either thinking about having kids or have had these sort of terrible experiences, that it's not you, right? It's not you. And in some of these cases, like, there's nothing you could have done. Because I know you probably beat yourself up. I always beat myself up. I should have said what I should have done. What I should have done was thrown the pillow at that bitch and said, "Lady, you just gonna stand there? You're supposed to help me, right? Like, exactly. That's what I should have done."
Exactly, right? I know. And even like after, like, I wish I said more, that like spoke up, but they kept saying, like, don't worry, babies don't eat a lot. Like, even for my son, like, when he hadn't eaten, they kept saying, oh, his stomach is the size of a, what is it, a penny or whatever. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's okay. And then me not like trying so hard to get him to eat, and then for them to be like, well, we're going to keep him so we can feed him. It was just like,
the hell you are.
How are you talking out of both sides of your mouth at the same time?
Exactly. Yeah. So it was just like, of course, like I said, I wish like I would, like, if I would never want, they would never happen to me again, like after that. But like, I would have hoped that, knowing what I know now, I would have stuck up for myself.
Yeah. And this is, again, why we need to talk about this more. Talk about it with your friends. Talk about it openly. People always say to me, Candace, you talk too much. You like telling all the details. Yes, because nobody told me. And I had to learn the hard way about a lot of the details and a lot of the hard parts. And if I had known that there's a chance of being treated so like horrendously, then even in my pain, I could have been like, hyping myself up before I got there, right?
Exactly.
And it seems excessive, but if you got to do what you got to do. So anyway, before I let you go, I just we talked a little bit about things you think that women should know, sort of leading into, or any tips you have for moms having gone through this. Let me phrase that right. Tips you have for women who are thinking about having kids, how they can prepare for their first pregnancy, or how they can go about preparing for a second one after a terrible first experience. What are some like 1 or 2 tips that you have for listeners out there?
Definitely stick to your intuition and like go with your gut. So if you feel that something isn't right, speak up or speak to the person that's with you so that they can advocate with you and just say, this is how I'm feeling. Can you please let them know? Can you please tell them? And then don't hide your pain.
Don't hide your pain.
Let them know exactly how, make them listen to your pain so that they know that you are in distress, so that they know that something is wrong.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Because I think, again, moms and particularly Black women tend to like undersell whatever the pain is, right? Oh, it's not that bad. I can deal with it. I can handle it. And what that says to people is that you're not a priority right now. I can take the other person who's screaming. So sometimes you got to scream. I just saw this woman who was like, you can take up space. We deserve to take up space. Take up the space and make them listen.
Especially if you're paying for it.
Oh, yes.
Amen.
And that bill you get at the end is real.
Thousands of dollars. So you know what? I'm going to scream, I'm going to kick, but you going to make me have this baby. And when I'm done, I'm walking out with it.
Yes.
I know. Sometimes I look at the bill and I'm like, we could have stayed
chubby
at a fancy hotel with a midwife and had a wonderful experience.
Exactly.
Like seriously,
a 5-star hotel for the amount the hotel cost.
But can we touch on that subject for a little bit? Like, right, the expectation in society nowadays is that you must have a baby in the hospital, right?
Yeah.
That you must call 911 as soon as your water breaks or if no one's near you, and that you have to go to a hospital and have a baby. There's so many services out there that can provide you with a very, very profound birth experience, right from the comfort of a suite and a pool, water births. There's so many options out there.
If you're interested in the cleanup, I mean,
but it is.
I'm not.
Option.
I'm not. But
no, and you may not be. But I'm just saying that it's like sometimes it's scary when you go to hospitals and you expose yourself not only to the maltreatment of individuals who treat you different simply because of the color of your skin, but they think that you don't have options and that you have to put up with that bullshit.
Exactly.
Women, you have options.
Yeah.
And you can explore them. And really birthing, I will never be able to speak from experience, but I have been told that birthing can be a very miraculous experience, and you can make it that much better knowing that you have options, that you don't have to deal with the stupidity and the red tape that you have to go through when you're in hospitals.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And home births are rising. And every so often I see these articles that are like scare tactics, and then this happened and everybody died, right? Like bad things happen all the time, but it's not the majority of things. People always try to scare you with the like one or two extreme cases. But if you do your research and you're near a hospital or you're, working with people who are affiliated with a hospital and you have your points where if this and that happened, then we'll definitely go to a hospital. Like the idea that women who are having children are not going to are going to just like there's a comedian who talks about like people thinking that midwives are witches. It's not witchcraft. It's midwifery, right? It's not like we're not like having a baby in the woods. It's not like we're just going to have a baby like they did 100 years ago without any of the other things, right? But to think that I will have gone through these last 10 months to bring this baby and then I'm just gonna like willy-nilly not do anything to protect me and this newborn baby, like it's rude and it's insulting. You know what I mean? And we do have options. There are lots and lots of options out there, from midwives and doulas and home births and water births and, all of the things. But I think what you said earlier about, being able to, it never occurred to me to go on Yelp to review my doctor, right? Or like to find as many reviews and as much research and information that you can on getting a doctor. I think we just have to put as much time and effort and research into our OB as we do into finding a new car or into buying a house, and just not assume that every doctor is going to be out there.
And not just the doctor, because my doctor wasn't that bad. It was the hospital he was affiliated with that was awful.
Yeah.
I changed I changed my whole doctor, which I was okay with, and offered Saturday appointments, which was like golden for a teacher. And I was like, no, peace. Like, I'll finagle leaving work early.
Yeah. And FYI, you can change your doctor at any point during your pregnancy. I thought once you had one and you didn't like them, you're like stuck. But you can go through 2-3 doctors until you find the right one, and you just have to not be afraid, not to speak up and make the change if you need to, because like you'll never see them again. You don't have to see them again if you want to. Yeah. Don't feel bad.
And this is your life and your child's life. So. Absolutely. But definitely research the doctor, research the affiliated hospital.
The hospital. That's a good point. All right. Well, thank you so much. This was really, I mean, it's tough. I don't want to make light of it. It's a really tough and personal and sensitive topic that we're talking about, and I thank you so much for coming and sharing your story.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me a voice to this. Like, I have explained it to a few friends, but I think that I definitely don't want anyone else to have the experience that I did. And thank you for sharing, like, letting me share my story and giving me a platform too.
Absolutely. Well, come back anytime. We don't always have to talk about heavy, sensitive stuff, but you're welcome to come back anytime.
Thank you. And hopefully next time my kids will cooperate.
Oh, they're great. They were just being kids. No, they were fine. They were just being kids. My kids are doing the same thing. That's why I leave my house to go do the show.
Maybe that's what I need to do next time.
Yes.
Peace
out. This is mommy's night. My kids know that I'm going to do my radio show, and I think that's pretty cool. Are you going to do your radio show tonight? Yes. Goodbye.
That's awesome. Yes.
All right, Chantal, I will let you get to it. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a good, it's early, I mean, you still have tomorrow, but have a great weekend and a great holiday.
You too, and it was nice meeting you, Tom.
Very nice to meet you too. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, bye.
Good night.
All right, well, ladies and gents, that was Chantal. She was amazing.
Yeah, she was good. She was really good. And that conversation, I mean, I was thinking about it, that it's trauma, it's traumatic, and I'm sure she's reliving it as she's talking about it. And there must be a level of, it must be a little bit cathartic, especially given that she had a good second experience. But some traumatic experiences are hard to talk through a second time. But it does help when you know that you're giving information to other people. It also puts
you in a position of knowing what to expect and what's not normal, right? And so I think that her going through that experience, not only just telling her story helps others, but because she found herself in that situation again, she knew what to expect and she knew better this time around.
The second time. So you know better, do better.
No, bitch. Let me tell you. They tried the first time to keep my baby. You're not going to do this now. They didn't do it the first time. You're not going to do it the second time around. Do you know what I'm saying? But not only that, and then the one amazing thing is that, her mother being a nurse, really put her in a position to be better off, because the situation could have been a lot worse.
It could have been. It could have been.
And so...
Thank God for that. And a feisty mom. It sounds like her mom is feisty. Listen, give me the charts.
So, I mean, overall, I'm glad that both babies are happy and healthy and gorgeous and amazing.
They're beautiful.
And, in hindsight, I think that there was something to be learned from that experience.
Yeah.
So, definitely.
And for all of us to learn. So, I'm glad she got to come and share it with us.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's wrap up, because we've been going a little while, and I want to make sure I get to the mom tip of the week, because it's the holiday season.
Well, go for it. Rachel's on. Hurry up, girl.
Listen, don't rush me for Rachel, okay? Okay, listen. So it's the holiday season.
He's gonna get indicted soon.
Stop it. He's always gonna get indicted soon. Well, let's talk about when he gets indicted. I don't have time to wait. So listen.
By the way, I love this rosé.
Yes, it's good.
Rosé.
Dark horse.
Rosé all day.
Okay, so it's the holiday season, and I have not bought a single thing for my kids yet. I do plan on it. I think so. Wait.
It's the holiday season.
I don't know that song, but... I mean, I don't know that. I don't know what you're singing. Listen, focus. Listen.
Some white boy like Christmas music.
Okay. So it's the holiday season, and sometimes it can feel overwhelming on how many things you're going to buy your kid, right? Like, they want all of these different things. And last year, I heard this little rhyme that I'm totally obsessed with and plan on doing it again. So you want to hear it for like what you should... No. how you should buy gifts for your kids, right? So it's 4 things: something you want, something you need, something to wear, something to read. And when I heard that, it changed my whole life.
Something you want, something to wear.
No, something you want, something you need, something to wear, something to read.
So,
right?
So you're really like...
So you can buy 4 things for your kids. Something you want is whatever little gadget, gizmo thing they've been asking for. Something you need maybe it's a book bag, maybe it's sneakers, maybe it's clothes, like whatever the thing is that you need. Maybe not clothes because we have a wear. So something you need, something you want, something you need, something to wear, which around the holiday season can typically be pajamas or it can be some clothes, right? Some regular outside clothes, and then something to read is a book of some sort. And I feel like when I heard that, it just like gave me tunnel vision, like zoomed in and cut out all the noise of like all the things you could buy your kid, right? And then you have to think about, am I spoiling them? Am I spending too much money? Am I giving them too many different things? Like, do I have enough money to give them all the things that they're asking for? Anyway, it changed my life last year, and so I just wanted to share it with people this year.
So make sure you remember that rhyme and do it right.
Yeah, something you want, something you need, something to wear, something to read. So, I mean, that's 4 things, which is still kind of excessive. But for people who buy lots of gifts for their kids anyway, I think it could be good. Now, if you've already been buying lots of things for your kids and this year they only get 4 gifts, it's probably going to be a transition period, right?
Or, you know, just
feelings.
Have some sort of kind of like parameters on the something they want, right? Because the something they want could cost like $400 if they want a new PS4 or...
Thank God my kids don't know too much about too many of the... I just saw an 8-year-old with an Apple Watch on. I was like, what kind of life are you living? I don't even have an Apple Watch.
I have mine charging.
Right?
Like, hello?
Yes, but you're in charge. You're the one who makes the money. I can't imagine.
True, but it's like... It's probably one of the new ones, too.
It probably is. I don't even give my kids my kids have an iPad, but it's like the old one that it's like a passed down iPad that someone else had. So the holiday season can be really tough, especially if you have lots of kids or multiple kids. And then also if you're buying stuff for other people, like it can be overwhelming. And I haven't figured it out all the way because every year we actually in my family we do a Santa swap or a
grab bag, sort of kind of
whatever
Secret Santa.
A Secret Santa. That's what we do. James signs us up on drawnames.com. And so you can put everybody's email and everybody's name, and then Draw Names mixes up everybody's and emails everybody who they have.
Really?
And then they also have, I don't know if they're connected to like Red Envelope or something else, but you can put in like the things you're interested in, and then they have an area where you can click on things. And so when someone gets it, they can either see the actual things that you picked out or they can see your list of interests.
Interesting.
So it's like a one-stop shop. My gift already came in the mail. I was super excited about it, even though I don't know who my Secret Santa is.
Of course.
Although every year I get the same person. So I don't know how well Draw Names is doing the mixing of the names, but I really like it, and it has helped us a lot in the last several years.
It sounds fun because it sounds like, you're able to actually still have a very meaningful gift-giving experience, but it just makes it that much more cool because
it's cool.
Random.
It's current. Like when you click on it, it goes to Amazon. Like you pick out things that you're interested in, and the person can just click, and they're like, "Oh, she wants I got an immersion blender. I wanted an immersion blender." So they just ordered it from Amazon because the link was right there. Done.
And so if they order it, can they ship it to your house as a gift as well?
Yeah, it just came. It didn't get wrapped or anything. It just came.
That is awesome.
So it's amazing. I really like it. And you put everybody in. I think there's probably like 10 or 12 of us in across my family and James's family.
That sounds like an interesting idea. Maybe I'll do that with the bartenders at the bar.
Yeah, so it's called drawnames.com.
Drawnames.com. So maybe I'll do that next year for the folks. Okay.
That's good. It's good, or else you're just confused about how many things to buy for like all 15 people in your family.
I'll be like, listen,
it's overwhelming.
I ain't made out of money. You getting that. You getting that. That's it.
I know. And then the last thing I'll say about the holidays, I know this isn't the holiday week, but in preparation, I'm super excited because we're going to do something that feels a little off key this year. Our James's family is spending Christmas in California.
Oh, nice.
And I didn't want to go, so we're not going to California, but everybody's going. So we are going to Great Wolf Lodge. Which is the indoor water park.
The water park.
Yeah.
Oh, in the middle of winter. You know, it always feels weird to me when someone mentions the
water park.
The water park, because it's like 30 degrees outside. But I forget they keep that thing in there like at 80.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh Lord.
So we're going like Christmas Eve. I'm pretty sure we're going Christmas Eve. So we're going to do Christmas Eve and Christmas at the water park. And I thought it was a little bit weird not to spend Christmas in your house, but I think it's going to be fun, and it's just going to be the four of us,
it's
and I'm super
different.
Excited.
And the kids will enjoy it.
Yes, they will. They will. I'm super excited. I'm trying to decide if I should tell them about it so we can like work up to it, or if it should be a super surprise.
Do they know what?
No, they don't know anything about it.
Oh, so
never been there.
I mean, nah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell them.
Just let them be excited.
I just let them open their eyes and be like, wow.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. So, anyway, those are my little holiday tips for planning for the next couple weeks. Yeah, I think that's it.
All right.
Are you good?
I am good.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening tonight, today, this week, all the time. Shout out to Chantal for joining us again. Catch us here every Thursday around 7:30 ish on digitalstreamradio.com and on all the places that you get your podcasts. That's it. Talk to you next week. Bye. This show is produced by Tom Ortiz at Digital Stream Radio. It's available for download on Podbean. Follow us at Facebook at Breezy Moms Podcast or email us at breezymomspodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, don't stress, just breathe.